Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm not sure after Fahan's introduction, am I supposed to put you to sleep or to wake you up? But I'll do my best to do the latter and make it interesting. So yes, as Fahan mentioned, my name is Hisham Ibrahim. I work for the RIPE NCC as their Chief Community Officer, and I will be giving the welcome note on behalf of the RIPE NCC. We still doing the motion thing? So next slide. No, thought we fixed it. Allow for a second. Let's see if the technology helps us this time. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So, quick introduction. We've been talking about like peering personnels and one slide introductions and stuff. So for those of you that do not know what the RIPE NCC is or what it does, we are one of 5 regional internet registries. What we do is we manage the distribution and the registration of internet number resources. So IP addresses, whether V4 or V6, or autonomous system numbers, the unique identifiers for networks that you need for peering and interconnecting. We're the ones that manage the distribution of them and the registration of them. And as you can see, the geographical region that we serve is Europe, Middle East, and parts of Central Asia, which includes, of course, Kazakhstan and the Central Asian countries. We are a non-profit organization, not-for-profit organization, membership-based, which means our members pay us an annual membership fee to become members of the RIPE NCC, and then they are the ones that tell us what they want us to spend their money on. So you have a big influence in the direction of what we are doing. Okay, sure. So next, I think it's fine. I think I can manage it. Thanks. So one of the things that I wanted to start this talk with was the RIPE NCC's commitment. And I actually took this from one of the RIPE Labs articles that we wrote, but I thought this was the right message to start with, that the RIPE NCC was always intended to be a politically neutral organization. We do not take sides in any political conflicts. What we actually do is we are committed to supporting network operators in a neutral, impartial, and transparent manner. So there are no secret meetings that we hold. We do not play favors. What we try to make sure is the accurate registry of the database, because if that gets compromised, you cannot really trust the operations of the internet anymore. And we work to make sure that the network operators are not denied access to our services for political reasons. Now, this commitment has been tried and tested multiple times, at least this year, and over the past few years as well. We've stuck to this, and we're very proud that we are, and we're planning on continuing to do so. Now, talking a little bit more about this event. So, and I have this bad joke with the comms team person that I work with on this, and saying, but I'm trying to be poetic about this. So for me, I saw this as like the journey across the Silk Road, right? Of how we actually ended up here, the road to CA-PIF. And actually, like thinking about some of the milestones that we had here and trying to highlight them. And there are many, so I just kind of picked a few of them. In 2017, the RIPE NCC decided to hire a dedicated resource for engagement in Caucasus and Central Asia. Now, we did have resources engaging in that part of the world, but we did feel that it was important to have somebody that was closer to the ground, that can understand what the issues are, have a lot of very informal discussions with people, and bring back that need base, which we use to design our engagements. And that person was Fahan, the person that I'm sure you all know by now, if not in person from before, from the introductions and the lovely work he's doing on stage here. And since then, we've been having a lot of very successful engagements in this part of the world. And I'm very happy to see a lot of familiar faces that we've seen over the years. Now, jumping a few years forward to 2020, the RIPE-NCC published a country report that actually looked at the Central Asian countries, basically looking into stuff like connectivity, how traffic is routed between these countries, the number of resources, all from the different vantage points of the measurements tool that we have, and I'll be highlighting them in a second. Now, the country report is available online if you would like to download it, and we've had a lot of very successful engagements based on that. But as we were looking more and more into this part of the world, and as we were trying to understand what the needs were, it became very clear to us that Central Asian countries are, by geography, landlocked countries. Thus, they depend on internet connectivity from their neighbors, right? And looking at the state of the internet in these parts of the world and where everywhere else is, it became very clear that the next gold rush will be Central Asian countries because of the unique location, the possibility for it to be, as the Silk Road was, that corridor for interconnection of different worlds and different networks. So there was need here to do more in this area, and we wanted to do more. So in 2021, EuroIX, the Internet Society, and the RIPE-NCC, we all teamed up and started doing something called the Virtual Peering Series for Central Asia. So some of you might have joined to one of our online sessions. It used to be like a 90-minute session. I think we did one per quarter. And we were talking about different relevant topics, whether from regulatory perspectives, whether from technical perspectives, whether from what's needed to build an exchange point, what can drive members to join. And we've had a lot of very interesting discussions online. Of course, the reason why these were done online, and the reason is apparent to everyone looking at the dates, 2020 and 2021, we could not travel. So a lot of these engagements had to be online. And we were very keen to continue to do these engagements with this part of the world, even when we could not travel here. Which brings us to 2022, when we could travel again. And again, we continued on that journey across the Silk Road. So in September, we actually had a RIPE-NCC days in Uzbekistan, Tashkent. It was one of the things that we had promised that we would do before COVID, but then COVID hit and we couldn't end up delivering on. And because delivery on promise is a big thing for us, we wanted to honor the commitment, and we were very happy that we did. We had a full room of participants, very active, very engaged. And one of the things that my colleagues and I really like about engaging in the Central Asian countries is that not only do we learn a lot and take a lot from, understanding, but there's always this like very welcoming notes that we get from the locals, very happy that we're here and happy that we're engaging with them, which is a very warm and fuzzy feeling that we all feel when we come and do this. But then November came, and here we are. We announced the first Central Asia Peering Forum. And in fact, because of COVID, we announced it, 2 months ago, I think, or something, which was crazy to put together because these things usually take a whole year to plan. But we were still on that commitment. We didn't want the time that we lost during COVID to play a factor in us pushing back our plans for another year. We wanted to still do this and have a successful event, which, still early in the event, but hopefully it is a very successful one from what I can see. And we wanted to continue the growth and the development here. And because, and you might have heard Nishal mention this this morning when he was talking, like a lot of these peering agreements, 99.998% of them are done by handshakes. The virtual component couldn't work anymore. We had to meet face to face. We had to have that physical connection, which I am very happy that we can now do after COVID. So this is the story to how we actually reached here. Now, one of the last bits that I have in the slides here is also the work that we've done with the Iranian community. Now, these are all different Flight Labs articles that I kind of highlighted with a lot of the descriptions that I was talking about. The first one is written by a friend of mine from Iran. I think he's in the room. Milad, are you in the room? Yeah, there he is. Milad, he took off your jacket so I couldn't see you. Milad wrote this article about the engagement the RIPE NCC has been doing in Iran since 2014, with a lot of different engagements, including the Iranian log, which is something that we're very proud of, and we hope that it continues strong in the future. And one of the questions that we kept on getting early on is that, well, we're calling it the Central Asia Peering Forum, but we're also inviting, Iran and Iranian operators to come and join. Why is that? Where's the logic to that? And I wanted to address that in the following slide, which is talking about how to build communities, and hopefully the answer will be apparent. So when you want to build a community, and this is something that also I've picked up over more years than I care to mention here, of working within communities and trying to build communities, right? And I used to go around just saying the first one. It's something that also I was taught. I didn't necessarily pick it up myself, but somebody that has done this for a lot longer than I have talked to me about, if you want to build a community, you need to find that basic common denominator that brings people together, that common interest, that common purpose that unites people, right? And in a sense, we found that here, that interconnectivity, that peering, the need to be able to be a lot more self-reliant when it comes to getting internet connectivity in this part of the world. That was very clear. And that's a commonality that we found also with, you don't just do that on a national level. You need a community of regional players that can play within that system. And in that sense, Iran made a lot of sense to us. There was also the fact that there's common languages. So in countries like Tajikistan, Farsi is spoken there just like it's spoken in Iran. So we could already see a lot of commonalities there that made it interesting. The second point is the one that kind of sold us on it, because if you want to build a community, there needs to be easy access to different community members. That's a key factor. We can have all this shared norms in the world, but if we never meet, if we never communicate, are we really a community? And having higher barriers to entry into a community excludes people rather than includes them. One of the things that I liked about the SAN countries looking into this and thinking about this is that for Iranians, they get access, visa upon arrival, or at least e-visas to all of the SAN countries, which is great, because you need that. That is already a great first step that this part of the world is doing that maybe Iranians don't find from Middle Eastern countries or some European countries. So it's great that they can actually do this. In fact, Milad, the person that I mentioned at the beginning, first time I met him was at an ENOG event, Eurasian events. It wasn't even a part of the Middle East where he and I actually, are considered geographically to belong in. But that's where we both met. Ease to access and having commonalities is important for us to do so. And again, Central Asia is already doing really good when it comes to this. Now, the other things are things that I picked up because of recent events, and I'll highlight them very quickly as well. The interactions have to be safe and based on trust and respect. We've been having a lot of discussions at the RIPE community for the RIPE meeting about codes of conduct. And that is something that I wanted to highlight here as well. We see this when we engage outside of Europe, where we have a lot of cultural history and customs that we need to adapt to and also be aware of without falling into any cultural faux pas. And we're very appreciative when we break a norm here that you kind of smile it off, but we also try to be as culturally sensible as we can. Think win-win, and this is very relevant to a peering forum, because when you have a community, a big part of what funds people to come to these communities is their business. They want to do business here. They want to interact. They want to do peering. They want to sell transit. They want to do any of the stuff that they're doing. So there's always mutual benefit to be gained here. And if it ends up becoming a win-lose situation, people will be turned off of that community. People always need to feel that they're gaining something out of it. And in fact, in other communities recently, we've seen how opportunism has shattered the community, how even one bad actor acting in bad faith, trying to take over, has really led into fractions within those communities. So this is a word of caution for you from other communities as well. A sense of community cannot be forced or faked. Also, recent lessons learned. We don't label. It's easy to put countries in geographical labels out of stereotypes. That's not what we do. And even though this event is called Central Asia Peering Forum, that's not the intent. We're trying to say we're focusing on this part of the world, but it's open for everybody to participate. In fact, we want everybody to come and participate here. So we're not labeling or putting people into certain countries or groups. That is not what we're doing. Because in another community, we had people asking, why are you forcing us to be with a community that we are even in an active war with? The answer is we're not forcing that. We can never force that. You decide where you want to engage and how you want to engage in the community that makes sense with this. And last but not least, it always has to be fun, which is why we have a nice social event, and you're going to see all of us dancing on the dance floor, and we hope you dance with us as well. These were my thoughts on community very quickly. I'll talk a little bit more about the agenda, and then I hope I wouldn't have put you to sleep. So we had a lovely program committee. I mentioned EuroIX, ISOC, and the RIPE NCC teamed up, but we also had support from local experts that helped us. Shavkat and Holland both came and really helped us with putting together the agenda that you see here. These are the names of the people that have participated here. We hope you like the agenda. We would love to hear from you at the end of the day what you felt was what you needed and what you felt you didn't get from the agenda. So getting the most out of the events, and I'll walk you through very quickly some of the stuff that I hope that you take advantage of. So these are the RIPE NCC staff at the meeting. And if I can ask my colleagues to stand up for a second in the room. So you can easily tell us by the black lanyards that we have. That's see. I love the hospitality. It's brilliant. But yes, these are the people that are here that are trying to their best to support the event in any way or shape or form. They do magic behind the scenes, and if something breaks, we appreciate that you accept that we're doing the best to make sure that you have a lovely event, and hopefully most of the things that break you never feel. We also have two RIPE NCC board members. If the board members are in the room, can I ask them to stand up? Remco and Piotr in the back of the room. And Remco was here earlier. I'll make a point of pointing him out when he walks back in. So these are from our executive board. Please feel free to chat with them, talk to them. They are the community elected representatives, and basically my boss's boss, so they can tell him if they think that we're doing a good job in this part of the world or not. And yes, quick things that you probably heard of before, but I'll point out, we have the peering personnels. These are the 1 minute of fame. And you get a quick, fun way of actually introducing yourself, where you are, so people can know you, right? And I tried to follow suit by putting photos of people that you can chat to about this. So Sandra and Alex, they're sitting outside. If you have any questions about where the bilateral meetings are, how to hold them, or how to do peering personnels, feel free to chat with them. They will be able to tell you. And the location of the bilateral meetings that you heard Nishal talking about will be held in the room that I cannot read from here. Yes, thank you. That one from the slide. Oh, I can read it from here. Abli Khan. Yeah. RPKI. So some of you might have attended, there was a 2-day workshop on BGP and routing security. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it's basically a security framework that helps certify the resource holders to being the rightful holder of resources. It's a way to protect your resources from being hijacked. My colleague Alex will be talking more about this during the sessions. And we actually have a ROA signing party later today. So if you have resources from the RIPE NCC, or if your colleagues have the credentials to be able to sign them, please invite them to come later today. There will be experts that can walk them to how to get their resources certified and do them in a signing party. We have t-shirts that we give away for those that sign their resources, and it's usually a very fun activity to do. And this is the location of where it will be held. Also, sorry, yes, here we go. Also, I mentioned the training that was done. So my colleagues, Matt and Hisham, did a workshop, but we also have an e-learning for this and a certification that we're planning on doing soon. So even if you couldn't attend the workshop yourself, or if you have more colleagues that want to attend, please chat with them. We do have online modules that people can learn on their own time and get a certification once we launch that, I think, towards the end of the year. RIPE Atlas. So I mentioned that we did the country reports looking into connectivity, and the tools that we use is something called RIPE Atlas. It's one of the world's biggest measurement tools that are out there that can measure internet connectivity. You're going to hear more about this from Alex in a later session. And if you're interested in having probes, please talk to Fahan or Alex. We have a few out there. We can give them to you to deploy on your network today. RIS is another way that we use for getting data from routing tables. My colleague Oleg will be also doing a presentation on this, talking about some of the findings that we saw and how we see the region interconnecting. And if you find the insights that they're providing useful, which I really hope you do, and we have a full measurement session talking about this, then hosting these probes, peering with these really helps us provide you with more insights, because you cannot make something better without being able to measure it. So the more we can deploy of these measurement tools, the more we can actually help measure and talk about the difference in performance. And I know Oleg is going to show like decade-old snapshots of how the region looked like from an internet perspective all the way to today. These things are only possible when we have more people hosting and peering with us on stuff like RIS and RIPE Atlas. RIPE Labs, this is one of the things that I always like talking about because it's just brilliant. You saw the different articles that I highlighted at the beginning, right? It's a great source of information. It always has something interesting to read. I share it a lot and people think I'm smart because I'm sharing stuff from RIPE Atlas. But it's really community members and staff members that are writing this. There's a lot of really good stuff out there, but one of them that I'm highlighting here is the podcast that we recorded with Shavkat in Tashkent when we had the RIPE NCC days, where he's talking about also the needs in the region and coming together as a community and building that regional interconnection. It's a really good, insightful podcast. And like I said, there's a lot of other good articles there. My colleagues from the comms team, the photos of them are up here. If you're interested in writing an article or doing a podcast or doing more with us, please talk to them. They will gladly help you through getting what you need to be done to be put on there. We're always looking for insightful information. Community project funds, and I promise you I'm almost done. I know it cannot be easy to listen to my cracking voice. Community project funds is also something that I wanted to highlight here, and you can talk to my colleagues, Elena and Fahan, about this as well. The RIPE NCC on a yearly base, they dedicate like 250,000 euros to supporting projects that are good for the internet. There is a long list of projects that we've supported so far. If you know of such projects or if you're interested in understanding what to do more, please chat to my colleagues. I think Fahan might do a lightning talk at the end of the event talking about engagement with RIPE NCC. I'm hoping he does. Hint, hint. That way he can hear more about this from Fahan as well. Last but not least, I wanted to thank our sponsors and supporters for this. The lovely host that is hosting us, the Internet Association here in Kazakhstan. We couldn't have done this without Shavkat and the amazing support that we've got from him. We also have our partners EuroIX and Internet Society, but also the lovely sponsors that helped make this all possible. And we will name them all and give them all gifts towards the end of the event. But we really appreciate their being part of this success, and we really look forward to working with you more on these activities moving forward. I already see the booths outside full of people talking with them, so I hope that they're getting the exposure that they wanted to get here as well. Last note is we have RIPE 86 planned to be held in Rotterdam next year. It's a hybrid event. I talked about access, right? Even if you cannot fly, you can participate online because it's a fully hybrid event. But also part of Fahan's lightning talk, he can talk about stuff like fellowships and opportunities that we provide for people to fly and attend the meeting. Again, you cannot just say you're part of a community when you've never interacted with them, right? So lowering these barriers to interaction is a very important thing that we really care about, and we're trying our best to make sure that we do this. And with that, I thank you very much. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. You need a mic for the translators. No?
Questions, suggestions? Do you have any questions, maybe suggestions, comments? No, nothing, nobody? Oh, that's good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, give a great hand, a lengthy hand for a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. You can take your seat. And the next speaker who will present it to us at the opening, and we talked about him many, many times, but he's still here, Shavkat. Shavkat, Internet Association of Kazakhstan. Okay, give him a hand. Good day. Thank you very much. Many of you we know personally, we work for a long time, and we hear and we know what's happening in our community. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to RMCC, because during all those years, we have managed to sort of introduce into the technical community, and special thanks go to them trying to organize technical forum on peer interconnect for Kazakhstan. It's really becoming an issue, because the level of digitalization is quite high, quite big, wide, and we principally differ from Russian Federation and our neighbors, as if we live in our own digital world, which is different to the ones which our neighbors have. So that is why our problems and our issues and the goals we have in front of us, objectives we have in front of us, are different from our neighbors. And that is why special thanks goes to the RFNCC that we have managed to gather technical community to discuss all these issues. Oh, definitely, without our sponsors and partners, this event wouldn't be able to happen. In principle, you can see the logos of all these companies, but I would like to mention that unfortunately today, representatives of our ministry did not come to participate because within 2, 3, 4 days we have presidential elections, and that a week before elections, everybody has to be on hold. No business trips, no presentations or things like this. But I think it's too bad that we do not have the state technical service from the Committee of National Security. In 2017, when they started working under the authority of Committee of National Security, it wasn't quite clear what they were supposed to do there. But in generally, we did understand why they were transferred to under the K and B sort of authority. But January had passed by, and they could have been returned under the civil sort of authority. But because we think that the goals and objectives of existence of these two entities are different, technical community and our community, we need as air, we need civil technical service, so people who are the same as we are, without any sort of military protection and obligations and things like that. So we have our own civil department, and also it has to protect state information systems. No, not Committee of National Security, but civil department, which we used to have in the past. They have to work. They have to work with private companies. They have to work with the operators and with foreign companies. Sorry, with private companies with the foreign share. Foreign investment. Because we do understand with the provider, internet provider, somebody comes to them, and asks to connect, and they have only one thing in the head. But when civil organization comes to you, although if it's a state organization, but it's a civil organization, it's not so scary. So that is why the first transformation and reorganization, which has to happen right now, especially after January, we saw that some things which state does, some mistakes which state also makes. We think that the civil department has to be part of the civil services provided. As for the peering and the um, traffic exchange points, it has to be on the market, and we hope that one day it will happen. And also the IXPs, they will become available at the market. And if we are in the center of Eurasian continent, from one side, we have so from two sides we have two great civilizations, and we are in the transit between them. And I think we know where to strive towards, and we have something to fight for. So thank you very much. Let's work for the well-being of our community.